Good morning, everyone. Sabhi ko namaste or pranam. Today we'll be talking a new topic, the pranayama. Different types of pranayama we'll be talking, and how does pranayama works. That also you should know. Okay. So that purpose only we'll be talking today on mechanism of pranayama. How does actually pranayama works in our body? Mainly, first we'll be starting with cardio and pulmonary system. Cardio means heart, and pulmonary means lungs. So the introduction to cardiopulmonary system, like breathing, how it is connected to heart and lungs, will be looking in the first segment. And the second segment will be mechanism of breathing. How does breathing takes place in our body? Mean exchange of gases, that will be looking. And the third point would be the effects of pranayama on cardiopulmonary health. Okay, so let's start. See, we should understand, see, the how we should inhale and how we should exhale, and what is the need of inhalation and exhalations. See, whatever you eat the food, maybe you eating rice, or you eating chapati or dosha, whatever the things, that will be masticated and it will be absorbed by the small intestine. Small intestine, it will absorb that food and it will convert into glucose. So that glucose will be absorbed by the blood cells. Okay, blood cells or fluid tissue. So that then body cell will use that, and body not only use directly. Body what they have, they should have the to use the glucose, and the food, rice, chapati, it will be converted at the end the simplest form, glucose. I think you know that glucose. Okay, and the glucose plus oxygen. We need oxygen to burn that food, that glucose. Then only body can or tissue can get or cell can get ATP. And you know that. So ATP is called the power, the strength for the cell. Then only cell can function. So that is the aim of the particular respirations. Why one should inhale and exhale? Because the food, whatever we consume, it will be converted as simplest form as glucose. As we told, it's glucose. And that glucose needs to be burned by the help of oxygen, O2. Okay. So if the glucose and oxygen get burned, then they will create ATP. And this ATP, the energy can be used by the cell. Then only cell can function or the body can grow. And at the same time, the ATP will release one waste product, that is CO2. CO2. And the CO2 will be thrown out from our body by exhalations. So this is the whole process. That's why we need to inhale and we need to exhale. I think hope you are clear. What is the importance of inhalation and exhalation? Means respiration. The main aim is there. The food particles, whatever is there, it will be in its small, simplest form, glucose. And to burn that glucose, we should have oxygen. When the glucose is combined with glucose molecules, it will combine with oxygen molecules, they will be converted into ATP. And the waste gases will be released, that is CO2. And the same CO2 will be exhaled from the lungs or from the body. So this is how we should maintain the cycle. And that is the need of respirations. Hope you are clear with this. Next, we should understand how it takes place. So, see, when we inhale here, how the oxygen will come inside the lungs. Whenever we inhale the air, how it will come? Because the higher concentration of oxygen will be outside the body in the nature, atmosphere. And the lower concentration of oxygen will be inside the lungs. How it is possible? See, when we inhale the oxygen level will be very high than carbon dioxide in the air. Oxygen level will be how much? Proportion is almost 20%. And CO2 will be 0.03% will be there, CO2. So CO2 proportion is very less outside the environment. And oxygen is very high. So the air, anything will flow from higher concentration to lower concentrations. So higher concentration of oxygen is outside the body in the environment. And the lower concentration of oxygen is there inside the lung, because lungs already fed by CO2. during exhalations. From throughout the body, the carbon dioxide is stored into the lungs. It's ready to going out. So that time the concentration is very high inside the lungs is CO2 will be very high. The concentration of CO2 gases will be high inside the lung while exhalations. And the concentration of the O2 will be very high from outside to inside. And oxygen is very high in outside. I think you know the physics law, the water, this is called the higher concentration of water. Maybe here 50 liters water is there, 50. And here one small tap is there or box is there, here 20 liters is there, 20. So how water will flow from higher to lower, higher concentration to lower concentrations. Same way here, the gases, oxygen is very high, where outside the body, meaning in environment. So it will try to go inside the body. So higher concentration to lower concentration, it will come. So oxygen from higher outside to it will come to inside the body. And carbon dioxide will be very high inside the lungs. Remember, oxygen will be very less in the lungs, but CO2 will be very high in the lungs. So CO2, the concentration, higher concentration of CO2 in the lungs, it will try to go to the lower concentration, where lower concentration for CO2 is outside. So CO2 will try to go outside the lungs. Are you getting my point? CO2 is very high in the lungs because all kinds of CO2, waste product or waste gases store from other parts to the lungs. It's ready to going out from different body parts. So CO2 is coming back from all body parts to it's coming outside. So the concentration of CO2 will be very high in the lungs. So that higher concentration to lower concentration, it will jump. Higher concentration in the lung, it will come to lower concentration, means in outside the lung. And concentration, how we should measure in a small lungs is a very small place. There only carbon dioxide means it's the pressure of the lungs will be very high. The pressure of the carbon dioxide will be very high inside the lungs. Okay, and outside is very wide place. Very space is more. So there the carbon dioxide can be anywhere, here and there. So pressure will be less. I think you know, in a small, that I mentioned here the 50 liters water is there. Here the pressure is very high and here pressure is low, 20 liters. So here pressure, higher pressure to lower pressure it comes. Same way, when inside the lungs there is a carbon dioxide very high, pressure is high, it will try to go outside. So exhalation takes place. Same way, opposite way, when the oxygen is very high in the atmosphere and inside the lungs very low, okay, that time the oxygen will come inside. So inhalation happen. Then after getting inhalations, the lungs, there inside the lungs there will be some alveoli. I think you can see this picture. And alveoli will be abundant by the blood capillaries. And blood capillaries are two types of will be here. Here, red color, I think you can see that will be oxygen, and the bluish color is called carbon dioxide. So the main actual, the changes of the gases will take place inside the lungs. That's why lung is called the basic and functional unit. Basic and functional unit. Basic and functional unit of respiratory system. You should know that. Why it is called? Because here only the main gases gets changed. Okay. So after getting change inside the lungs, the oxygenated air, whatever you inhale from your nose, then the oxygen air came to lungs to alveoli. Okay. Then from alveoli, it will exchange. Okay. Whatever the oxygen air you have inhaled through the nose, it will come from lungs to the heart. And which part of the heart? The part is called the pulmonary veins. Red, this you can see, pulmonary veins. The oxygenated air, it will come to the pulmonary veins. Directly air will not come. See, from after getting exchange, it will come to through the bloodstream. Here bloodstream will be there. Okay. Through bloodstream, it will get into the left side of the heart, means left atrium and left ventricle. How it is come? Through the RBC. RBC will be there. Here, RBC cells will be there inside the blood or the blood vessels, and the blood vessels connected to the blood capillaries. See, these are the called capillaries. You can see here capillaries are there, smallest. and the capillary is connected to the blood vessels, and inside that RBCs are there. Okay, so oxygen will come to RBC, contact of RBC, then RBC will flow that oxygen, the oxygenated blood, to the left chamber of the heart, means in the left atrium and left ventricle. Are you getting my point? So the red color I am showing with oxygenated blood. Then the heart will pump, then the oxygenated blood will pumping out through the aorta. Aorta is there, I think you can see here. Then from aorta it will go to some particular cells or particular organs. For example, I am drawing here on pancreas. You just take, for example, this is pancreas. So it will come to the pancreatic cells. Pancreas already having CO2. How? See, already in previous cycle, already oxygen came. Previous cycle I'm talking about, not this cycle, previous cycle. Already oxygen came. Okay, already oxygen came into the pancreas. Pancreas use that oxygen. Why? Use to burn the glucose. So glucose is there plus oxygen O2, and it's created already ATP already ATP already released in the cells. Then only cell can work, it can function, otherwise it cannot. It's already released the CO2, the waste gas, as I mentioned here. What I am telling, listen again. See, in the previous cycle already the pancreas, he got oxygenated blood, and he used already that oxygen for breaking down or for burning the glucose. And glucose how comes? Already I mentioned, it comes from the absorption of the small intestine from food. So that glucose already burned by help of oxygen, and it is used, the ATP already used. Then the waste gases release already after using oxygen. ATP, after using of ATP, the CO2 waste product is released here, waste gas. So here that purpose what happened, the CO2, okay, CO2 is ready, is waiting here. The CO2 is waiting here to coming back. As the oxygenated blood is coming in this page, not the previous page, in this page, from aorta to near to the pancreatic cell here, and pancreas is waiting for the oxygenated blood. So oxygenated blood is coming, okay, because oxygen is very less, already used, ATP already created, ATP already formed, CO2 release, waste product, and that waste product should be sent back. So here that pancreatic cell will release the CO2 from pancreas. Okay, so from pancreas it is coming to the inferior vena cava and superior vena cava. Here, what is coming? The CO2. I am showing here CO2 as blue mark and oxygen at red mark. Remember, again I am telling the mechanism. What happened here? The air, whatever you have inhaled in your lungs, it will coming to your alveoli. And alveoli known as the basic and functional unit, because here only gas exchange takes place. Okay, and alveoli is connected to so many small capillaries, blood capillaries. Okay, and blood capillaries is connected to what? Connected to the blood vessels, and inside the blood vessels there are RBC. So the oxygen will get into the RBC. It will attach with the RBC, then RBC will come through the blood vessel to the left side of your heart, means left atrium and left ventricle. Remember, okay, after getting into left side, then the heart will pump, because body needs oxygenated blood, other cells need oxygenated blood, so heart will pump. So after pumping, that blood will coming through aorta, the big artery and the big vessels, the aorta. From aorta, it will come to the different body parts. Now we may get one questions here, like why we should use heart here directly? Why can't it come from alveoli to direct to the targeted cells or targeted organs? Because the pressure of blood will be very less. If heart pumps, the pressure will be very high. So the cells or organs which is present inside your head, also brain or in your toe, so blood can reach very easily by the SA node pumping. That's why it will reach to the, first it will come to the heart, then heart will pump, then through aorta it will go to the targeted cell and tissue or organ. For example, we have drawn here pancreas. So the O2 blood will come to the near to the pancreas. Okay, because pancreas is waiting for oxygenated blood. It already used in previous cycle already used that oxygen for glucose, to break down the glucose, because glucose, to burn the glucose, he already used that oxygen. Who used? Pancreas already used that. So oxygen and glucose mix, and they already form or created ATP. ATP already created. So body cells already use that power, and it's released the one waste product, waste gas, that is CO2, and the CO2 should be sent to the back outside the body. So how it will send? So again, next cycle, in this cycle, from aorta the oxygen will come near to the pancreas. So oxygen will go inside the pancreas, and CO2 will coming from CO2 will coming from pancreas, and it will come not going direct to lungs. It will go through heart. Again, it needs some power or pressure. That's why it will go to the right side of the heart, means inferior vena cava. It will enter into the inferior vena cava and superior vena cava. I think you can see here. Then it will come to the right chamber of the heart, means right atrium and right ventricle. Then the heart will pump again this air. Then it will go to the back through. It will coming through the what do you call, this particular place. Then it will from here, and from this place it will go to the again back to alveoli. This way it will come again. Are you getting my point? What I'm talking here? I'm telling the exchange of gases, how it is happening. Okay, so when this pancreatic cells already release the CO2 after using oxygen, as oxygen comes near to contact of the pancreatic cells, pancreas will grasp that. So CO2 or O2 will get inside the pancreas. Are you getting my point? And CO2 will release from pancreas, because it's already waste for pancreas. So that CO2 will come, it will get entered to the right chamber, means right atrium and right ventricle, through superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. So right side of the heart is deals with the impure blood, CO2, and left side is O2, oxygenated blood. So after getting right side filled in the right atrium and right ventricle, the heart will pump, and heart will having right side three wall of valve called as tricuspid. There are three valve are there. That's called three tricuspid, and left side there are two. That's why it's called as bicuspid or mitral. So after opening the tricuspid valve, the CO2 blood, it will go to the alveoli. See, this way it will go to the alveoli, and from this way also it will coming alveoli. Before get into the bloodstream, through bloodstream it will go to the alveoli. Alveoli will release it. Alveoli means lungs. Then lungs will release it to the outside the body. Why it will release? Because the pressure, partial pressure of CO2 will be very high in the lungs. Then only the higher concentration to lower concentration. Remember, again I am telling, in heart the concentration of CO2 will be very high while exhalations, because from throughout the body CO2 is stored inside the lungs. So the pressure of partial pressure of CO2 will be very high inside the lungs, and outside the lungs it will be very less. Okay, so higher concentration, lower concentration, the pressure of the CO2, it will try to go outside the body. So as it going out means the expirations, the exhalation takes place. Are you getting my point? What I'm talking here, I'm telling the inhalation when takes place and exhalation when takes place. Yeah. So what you understand here, when you inhale through the nose, air is coming inside due to the external pressure, mean higher pressure of oxygen. So oxygen is coming inside the lungs, and due to the higher pressure of CO2 inside the lungs, it is going out of lungs. So this is it, we got understanding. So here inhalations and exhalation takes place. That's called the external. Remember, external inhalation and exhalations, or we can say external respiration. Remember, external respirations means you are inhaling, exhaling externally. Remember. Okay. Then the air came into the lungs. Then it's enter into the alveoli, and here it gets changed because here will be blood vessels are there, and here the oxygenated blood gets changed, and CO2 blood from body parts to it will coming towards the alveoli. So here also exchange takes place inside the vessels. Which vessels? Capillaries. Capillaries of the alveoli. So this part also some exchange takes place. This also called as the external respiration. External respiration. Between what? Between the alveoli capillaries to blood vessels. All alveoli and capillary. That is happening the external respiration. Are you getting my point? So external respiration, where it takes place? In between the alveoli and blood capillaries. Blood from different parts, the CO2 blood will come towards the alveoli, and from alveoli O2 blood or oxygenated blood will come to the bloodstream or towards the different cells and body parts. So this is called the external respiration. Thirdly, the changing or exchange of gases from her to the particular organs. We have drawn here the pancreas. Okay, pancreas will use this oxygen to form the ATP. ATP will be used. ATP formation will be there, and CO2 will coming out. So CO2 will be coming out. So that CO2 will be sent to back to the right side of your heart. Or you know this point, right side of the heart. Okay. So here also something getting changed. Are you getting my point? Here the changing between the blood vessels and targeted organs. O2 is going inside and CO2 is coming outside. See, CO2 coming outside and O2 is going inside. Here also exchange takes place. So this is called as the internal respirations, IR. Internal respirations between blood vessels and tissue or cell. Okay. Then from there, from heart to, it will go to the, again, the lungs. Sorry, it should be in black mark. It should be in blue color. It will go to in the lungs. From lungs to, due to the higher concentrations of the CO2, it will go out of the lung. Means exhalation takes place. And one more point we should keep in mind here, the after getting oxygen into the targeted cell, means in the pancreas or liver or any cell, what happen? The ATP will be formed and body cells will use that energy. So that inside the cell, the respiration called as the cellular respiration, CR, cellular respiration. And what is cellular respirations? If question asks what is cellular respiration, the answer must be when the oxygenated bloods enter into the particular or organs or particular tissue, particular cell, then the from particular cell the CO2 will release to the bloodstream towards the right side of the heart. After getting absorbing that oxygenated blood inside the targeted organs, maybe pancreas or maybe liver or anything, that cell will use that energy, or it will break down the molecules of glucose by the help of oxygenated blood O2, then it will convert it as ATP, adrenotriphosphate, and it will release the CO2. So this process is called the CR, means cellular respirations. So this thing you should keep in mind. Hope it's clear to you. So this thing happen this is happening in three places. Here external respirations in between the atmosphere and your lungs, inhaling O2 and exhaling CO2. Again in between the lungs and blood capillaries, means alveoli and the blood capillaries, there are also external respirations. O2 is coming towards the bloodstream and CO2 going towards alveoli. That is external respiration. And thirdly, the internal respiration, that is happen inside the bloodstream and the targeted cell or tissue. Okay, these three things we should know. And the last point is called cellular respirations. After getting oxygenated blood inside the cell will form ATP and it will release CO2. So this respiration called as the cellular respirations. Hope this is clear. Please keep in mind. Now we'll be talking on the mechanism or the regulations of breathing. How does breathing gets regularized and what are the factors made to do that, we'll be looking at. And the regulation of breathing can be done in two ways. One is called nervous system, through nervous system, and through the chemical process. How? The nervous regulatory mechanism, the mechanism which regularizes the neurons or the nerve conductions and nerve impulses. And the second one is called as the chemical regulations, which part of the chemicals, which part of the respiratory centers gets sensitized by the chemicals and gets regulated. That will be talking here in the regulatory mechanism. Okay, so the first one we will start with the nervous regulatory mechanism. See here, the nervous regulatory mechanism, it will happen in two dimensions. One is called automatic control and second one is called as the voluntary control. Automatic means we don't have any control over that. It will happen automatically. It's called as the involuntary control, involuntary mechanism of the nervous system. For example, we are breathing normally like 12 to 15 times per minute. 12 to 15 per minute. So it is happen automatic. We have no control on that. All human beings, they will inhale and exhale almost 12 to 15 times per minute. That digestion happens, absorption. So all these things comes under the involuntary mechanism. And in the breath, in the respirations, 12 to 15 times we will breathe automatically. We do not have any control. Otherwise, if you see the voluntary control, we can control our breathings during practice of pranayama or any mudra bandha. Then that 12 to 14 times we will decrease that 5 to 6 times per minute. We can decrease that because after holding in pranayama, inhalation, exhalation, we can do that. So that is in our control. We have the voluntary control over our respirations. And how does it happen? By the brain. Inside the brain, in the cerebrum, there will be some cerebral cortex, some cavities will be there, particular region or the places will be there, cerebral cortex. There, in the hypothalamus, the smallest part, in the hypothalamus, you can see there here, the hypothalamus is located here in this picture. Hypothalamus, okay, in the hypothalamus, it will open into the cerebral spinal tract. The tract means the opening, cerebral spinal tract, and through that cerebral spinal tract, the motor spinal neuron, MSN, motor spinal neurons, they will open and they will come through the spinal cord and they will come to your lungs. Lungs means in the lung, the respiratory muscles, lung, they will come to the lung. So they will give the sensation to the respiratory muscle to inhale or to exhale or to contract. So what I'm talking here, listen, the voluntary control of the respiration. Voluntary control, it will happen in the brain. Brain means in the cerebrum. Cerebral part is, there are cavities are there, different or the parts are there, that is called the cerebral cortex. In the cerebral cortex, the hypothalamus, the smallest organ will be there, hypothalamus, and that hypothalamus in the third ventricle of the vertebral column. Third ventricle is connected to that. And the third ventricle will be sending cerebral spinal, through the cerebral spinal tract, they will be sending or opening a motor spinal nerve that will get open and they will give the sensation to the lungs muscles. So it will contract and we will get the sensation so that we can inhale and exhale during practice of pranayama and mudra bandha, whatever. So we'll be looking this mechanism when we discuss deeply about the pranayama concept and mechanism. Come to this part. Autonomic control. Autonomic control, we cannot control that. It will happen automatically, like 12 to 15 times automatic. We are not forcefully doing that. Automatic, it happens. And to do that, there are two respiratory centers are what is called mainly involved in that. One is called pons and another called medulla. Pons is located above and medulla little below. If you see here, you can see the pons and medulla. The greenish, this part is called the pons, this part, and medulla is below. This part is called the medulla. You can see this part. So in the pons, there are two chambers are there, or the two centers are there. First one is called as the pneumotactic center, the above one, and second one is called as the apneistic center. Pneumotactic centers helps in only in inhalations, and apneistic center helps in exhalations. Inhalation and exhalation. Remember this part, two part. Okay. Pneumotactic centers helps in inhalation, means they will give the sensation to the, give the signal to the respiratory muscles. Mainly, it gives the signal to the external intercostal muscle to inspire more. So lungs will get enlarged. So it will help in inspirations. Which one? The first one, pneumotactic center of the pons. And the expiratory muscles helps in expiration, the opposite function of the pneumotactic center. I think you heard the one called as the sleep apnea. One line is called sleep apnea. The person who won't get good sleep and feel difficulty in breathing in sleep. Okay, difficulty in breathing during sleep. So that time what happened? The apneistic centers inhibits the inhalations. So inhalation stop means exhalation will be there. Who does this? Apneistic center. So during sleep, the apneistic center will be active and they will promote in exhalation and they will stop the process of inspiration. That's why the person not able to breathe properly, not able to inhale properly. So that's called as the sleep apnea. During sleep, they will feel the difficulty in breathing due to the activeness of the apneistic center. I think you know about that. And the next part of medulla, the below part of pons, they call as the two are there, VRG and DRG. VRG means ventral respiratory group neurons and dorsal respiratory group neurons. There are multiple neurons are there, and the VRG is located the ventral part, the frontal part. If you see, this is called your body. This is called the frontal side of your body, and this is called the back side. These are the cut sections of this particular part. Lower part of the brain. Cut sections is here. This is called cerebrum, cerebellum, and this is called the lower sections. Lower section is made of three. One is pons, medulla, and brainstem. Brainstem is continue as the spinal cord here. Continue as the spinal cord. So what I am talking here, VRG, ventral part, means located. This is called the frontal side and the ventral side same. In medical, the frontal called as the ventral root, ventral side. And the backside is called as the dorsal, means backside. So what happened here? VRG is the frontal side, the big one is called the VRG. I think you can see the picture also. See, VRG is this is the big one, this one. I think you can see VRG. And DRG is called the dorsal, the backside one, this one. So it's called dorsal respiratory group. So dorsal respiratory groups helps in only in inhalations, and ventral will help in both inhalation and exhalation, both. How? Because dorsal respiratory group, it is connected to the dorsal part, backside part. So it will give this sensation, it will send this signal from the brain to the spinal cord. And we know this is called the sensory neurons. Sensory neurons give this signal from backside. Backside means in the dorsal side. So it will give the signal from backside, dorsal part, only for the inhalation purpose. Then after inhaling, the brain will give the message. Brain means the VRG centers will give the message. VRG neurons will give the message to the lungs for the expirations. So this is the function regarding the medulla. Hope it is clear to you. Okay. Now we will be looking about the peripheral chemoreceptors. How peripheral chemoreceptors are maintaining the respirations, and as well as the central chemoreceptors, means in the chemical regulations. So what happens? The peripheral chemoreceptors, the receptor which is coming from the central part, they call as the peripheral chemoreceptors, means from brain to different parts of the body. And central chemoreceptor, those are present in the brain cerebral cortex, they call as the central chemoreceptors. And the peripheral chemoreceptors are 2 in number in terms of respiration. See here, this is the heart. You know, this is heart. This is heart. 4 chambers are there. This is called aorta. Aorta is filled with oxygenated blood, and it will send the oxygenated blood to the different types of body parts, different body parts. Okay. And here the chemical reaction change happen. Here, see, this sensation will be filled. The oxygenated chemicals, the blood chemicals will be filled, sensed by the neurons present into the aortic bodies. Here the aortic body, aorta and its body, aortic body. And here the carotid bodies are there. Here also some neurons are present, nerves are present. And which nerve present in the carotid body? Nerve number 9. Cranial nerve number 9, that is glossopharyngeal. And which nerve present into the aortic arch? That is nerve number 10th, cranial nerve number 10, that is vagus nerve. And vagus nerve is the longest nerve in peripheral nervous system. Under autonomic, the peripheral nervous system is the main, and that main thing is maintained by this longest nerve, that is vagus nerve. It is present till the small intestine. I think you should know this. Okay, so that's how the changes of the gases. Here the gases will get changed in the lungs. Here lungs will be there. The gases change already takes place in the lungs. Then the oxygenated blood came to the lungs here. Okay, then this is will go through the aortic arch, aorta, the largest artery. So that aorta, when it passes through the aorta, this oxygen smell or the sensation will be gets by the aortic bodies, means the neurons of the aortic body, nerves of the aortic body, that is the vagus nerve, and the nerves of the carotid bodies, that is glossopharyngeal nerves, and they will send that signal to the upper part of the brain, in the respiratory muscles of the respiratory centers, means in the pons and medulla. Here pons and medulla, they will send the signal to the pons and medulla. Okay, this is how the peripheral chemoreceptor works. And how does central receptors work? Central chemoreceptors. Central chemoreceptor means present in the brain and the near to the hypothalamus. From the ORS, one nerve goes from the ORS. We'll be talking later deeply into that, and they will give the sensation to the regulatory center, mainly pons and medulla. Okay, so that's how the central chemoreceptor also works on this regulation in breathing. So they will give the sensation through the hypothalamus to the breathing regulatory centers. This is how the chemical regulations mechanism takes place. So we have completed these two regulation mechanism in terms of nervous system and chemical mechanism. Now let's understand with this particular picture. See what happens is here, we are inhaling the air going through the nose to the lungs. Okay, air came here, lungs, and lungs are having the receptor cells, because it will be connected to the what you call lung cages. Ribs are there. In between the ribs, there are some muscles. They call as the intercostal muscles. ICM, intercostal muscles. And intercostal muscles are two types. One is called external, outside the ribs, and other one is called as the internal, inside the ribs. So this muscle, external, that is external intercostal muscles, EICM, their help in inspirations, means inhalations. There will be some receptors will be there in the muscles and in the trachea, okay, and in the bronchi, actually in the bronchi. So they will give this signal through the vagus nerve to here, to the respiratory centers, mainly in the pneumotactic center, and pneumotactic center is essential, or it will be active in inspirations. When you are inhaling, that center gets activated. Which center? Pneumotactic center. When the inspiration is getting very high, that time that pneumotactic center is giving signal to the next apneistic center. Means you are not able to inhale much more. You already inhale maximum, like fully you inhale. Later you need to exhale. So that exhalation signal will come from the pneumotactic center to the apneistic center, and apneistic center will give this signal to the where? In the ventral part, ventral group neurons, or ventral group respiratory neurons, from there, because it will maintain both inhalations and exhalations. Inhalation and exhalation, both the ventral root. From there, the signal will come back to the lung cages, all the lung receptors. That only they will get inhale, they will get expand and contracted. What happened? Please listen once again. We inhale the air through the nose, went to the lungs. Lungs will having the intercostal muscles, internal intercostal muscle and external. External means outside the lungs, the outer layer of the lungs. They are attached in that outer layer. So the external intercostal muscle there helps in inspirations. So when they contract, they'll give this signal to the vagus nerve. Okay, so lung receptors will be there. They will go through the vagus nerve to the pneumotactic center, and pneumotactic center will get activated. Then we inhale. When we cannot inhale much more, maximum limit of inhalation, then we need to exhale. So that time the pneumotactic center will give the signal to the apneistic center to stop that breathing. Then apneistic center will give that message to the ventral root of neurons, ventral group of neurons. Then that ventral part will give the signal to the lung receptors, maybe alveoli or other accessory muscles. Okay. Then only this respiratory system will be regulated by neural pathway. Hope it is clear. Okay. So you can see here also, when we inhale, that time lungs getting down, enlarge the thoracic cavity, these things, diaphragm, and when you exhale, getting contracted. Here also, if you see, the heart is present here, heart is there, connected here, and here the aorta is passing the oxygenated blood to the body parts here. Here the vagus nerves is there in the aortic arch, and here the carotid arch, carotid body, the glossopharyngeal nerves are there. When oxygen is passing through this, the chemical changes made the change to feel the sensation from vagus nerve to the central, the regulatory part of the brain, mainly in the apnesis center, pneumotactic center, and the ventral and dorsal root. From the vagus nerves, it goes here this way, and from the glossopharyngeal nerves, it will go to the respiratory centers, means in the this particular part, pons and medulla, it will go. So this how the respirations also be regulated by chemical changes. Hope this picture is clear to you. Now we are going to explain the effects of pranayama on cardiopulmonary health. As we discussed, the breathing is the involuntary mechanism, but we can make it voluntary by certain practices, that is pranayama, mudra or bandha. What happen here? In the normal breath rate will be 12 to 15 times per minute, but during pranayama we will decrease that 4 to 5 times, so that heart rate, the heart function will get decrease. Heart is daily pumping, so that capacity will be continue much more if we give the rest to the heart for the time being. Means that if the heart rate is for a person is 100 is there, can we decrease that heart rate by doing pranayama? Can we make it 75 to 80? Yes, we can do. Now how we can do that, that we are going to explain here. Okay, so what happened here, when we inhale and when you hold our breath, when you are holding our breath means inside the body CO2 getting increased, the concentration of the CO2 in the lungs will be very high. Are you getting my point? And the sensations will be sensed by the lung receptors are there here. They will get this sensation to the brain. The voluntary part will be maintained by the brain cortex, and the brain cortex will send that signal to the, here the brain cortex is there, here you can see here brain cortex will be there, and that signal will be sent to the hypothalamus. See what I am telling here, first is the brain cortex, they will send the signal to the hypothalamus, okay, hypothalamus, and through the actually the lateral hypothalamus, from the lateral hypothalamus one nerve is connected, like ORS nerve, or called as orexin, ORYXIN, spelling may be right or wrong, I'm not sure about that. So orexin's nerve is connected, so that oractive nerves or the neurons will give the signal to the respiratory centers, means pons and medulla, and from pons and medulla that signal will come to the lung muscles, means the receptors, the external intestinal muscles, internal intestinal muscles, diaphragm, as well as the accessory muscles, means sternum and the backside, scapula and all. So that's why we are increasing and decreasing our breath. What we are doing here, listen again, we are inhaling through the nose and we are holding the breath for the long time. So per minute we are decreasing our respiratory rate from 15 to maybe 5 to 6 times. So that by holding, by doing bandha, the CO2 is getting increased in the lungs, the concentration is getting high, and that sensation will be felt by the lung receptors, and they will send that signal to the hypothalamus through the brain cortex. And lateral hypothalamus, there is some neurons are there like ORS, orexin, they will send that signal, and they will send to the brain centers, respiratory centers, means pons and medulla. And the pons and medulla, they will give this signal to the lung muscles, and lung muscle will helps to increase, helps to contract or relax. Are you getting my point? So this is how the breathing rates change, means automatically the hearts need to pump. Heart is the working with the oxygen. So the consumption of the oxygen it gets increase, or CO2 getting increase or decrease. The balance will be maintained in the heart. So heart rate also getting decreased because the proper supply of the oxygen and CO2 will be less in the heart. So heart will get less function. Less function means the excess heartbeat. Okay, that will be in a stable pose. That I told, like 100 times was there. If a person's beating, it will become 75 to 80. So this how pranayama helps in decrease the heart rate. At the same time, see here, when the heart is located here, when we breathe, hold the breath here, the CO2 will be stored more and in the lungs. And while releasing, see, oxygen will release through this way. Okay, and CO2 also will go this here. The throughout body, the CO2 blood will come to right side of the heart, right atrium. And this sensation also will be felt by this aorta, and they will give this signal through the vagus nerve, and here glossopharyngeal nerves is there. To here, to the brain cortex. And brain cortex will send that signal same way to the lateral hypothalamus, from lateral hypothalamus to ORS, and ORS to the brain centers, the respiratory centers, from that to the lungs muscles. So this how the pranayama helps in decreasing the heart rate or the respiratory rate. I think you are clear with this. Okay. So in this picture, you can understand little deeply. See here, the already the sensation from the lungs came to the hypothalamus. This is the picture of the hypothalamus. You can see hypothalamus. Okay. This is pituitary gland, anterior and posterior pituitary. Here one center is there, or the neuron is located. That is orations. ORS. They will give the message to the respiratory centers, like in this particular place, pons and medulla. Here, from there, pons and medulla will give signal to the this way through nerves will be there here, and they will come to the accessory muscles and intercostal and extracostal muscles. That's how it will balance in respiration and heart functioning. Hope it is clear. And here also I have already explained. Now, fewer benefits. You can see the benefit number 2. The pranayama helps in maintaining the emotions, expressions, and feeling. Like if we become sad or we become very happy, sad means we'll start to inhale, exhale, little slow. And if we happy means we'll start to breathe very fastly, very anxiously, fastly. So that respiratory muscles getting contracted and relaxed more during the happiness, and during the sorrow it will be very slow function. So those signal also will be sent to the hypothalamus. From there it will go to the hypothalamus. Okay, hypothalamus. And hypothalamus will give this signal to release the hormone, happy hormone. Different kind of happy hormone will be there. That will be sent to the different parts of the body. So our body will become happy and very pleased. Peace will be there. That's why the pranayama helps in to calm down the mind. We say how pranayama calm down the mind this way, because we are inhaling and exhaling. Now our some mood will be there. If we happy already, we will be inhaling very happily and very fastly. If we unhappy, we will be inhaling slowly. So that happiness and the slowness, that contraction of the muscles, respiratory muscle, that signal will be sent to the hypothalamus, and hypothalamus will help to release a different kind of happy hormone, maybe oxytocins through the pituitary gland, or serotonin. Okay, so those things will keep the calmness and coolness. It will affect on our mood and behavior. So that's why we say the pranayama helps in change the mood. Third thing you can see, it helps make the strengthen lung capacity and elasticity. Pranayama. How? For example, a person is following the sedentary lifestyle. He won't work out much more, eating, sleeping, and going office. Sometimes what happen? The person needs to run very fastly. Something happened. The dog is coming on your back. Okay, dog is after you. So what you will do? You will run. So the body, that time what happened? Respiration purpose, body needs more oxygen. And your heart and your alveoli are not habituated to do that, because you are following sedentary lifestyle. So what happens? You will feel difficult to run from that particular place. Are you getting my point? If you are following sedentary lifestyle, your heart and the lungs elasticity is very less. So if you run very fastly, heart need to pump very fast fully and the lungs should be filled by oxygen. But your lungs are not habitual, your alveoli are not habitual to do that, so you feel difficulty. See, the person is feeling difficulty to run. Same way, this person runs every day or he practice pranayama every day. Means holding the breath for long time. If you hold the breath for long time, what happen? The air is passing and alveoli is there. Different alveoli are there. So this alveoli is before it was not able to function. So by the over holding, if you hold it for a long time, that breath will enter into the inactive alveoli. So by continuous practice, this inactive alveoli will become the active. So this you will get the elasticity of the or the capacity gets increased of this particular alveoli. So that's how if the lung capacity increase by practicing or holding pranayama, automatically if you have any situation to run or to go quick fastly, you can do that. So that's how without difficulty this person is running. So these are the few things you should keep in mind. And the next one we will see here. What actually here the forceful pranayama helps to overcome respiratory diseases. The forceful pranayama means which pranayama is helps to like we are inhaling and exhaling forcefully. For example, here we mention here Vastika pranayama, and in Naishuddhi pranayama also we do forcefully. We are holding our breath. So wherever we are holding and inhaling, exhaling forcefully, they are helpful for the respiratory disease, overcoming this problem. How? See, inhalation is an active process. You already know, but exhalation is a passive process. So whenever you are inhaling with force as an active process, so many foreign particles also comes inside our nose or in our respiratory tract. Maybe fungus, so many funguses or viruses will go in the lungs and trachea as well as it goes to lungs. So it will infect. Are you getting my point? And the exhalation is a passive process. So when you exhale normally, they are not able to go. They won't go from your body. So it creates problem. Fungus or these things create the impurity in your lungs and it creates some infection in your lungs. Like COPD problems and so on, different problems are there. Infections and all. Common cold. So what you are doing here, inhaling actively so that the fungus all are coming inside as an active process, inhalation, and exhalation is a non-active process, passive process. So we are not forcing to exhale. So that's how the problem is coming in. And the forceful pranayama, what you are doing, inhaling, exhaling forcefully. So even though the production, the fungus or the fungal growth is coming inside with force, in the same way we are exhaling forcefully outside also. Like we practice the Bhasirana, like so as a inhalation and exhalation are almost same, but the exhalation will be little high than inhalations. So that whatever the fungus is gets enter in your lungs, that will go very easily. So it can be thrown out from your lungs very easily. So that's how this pranayama means the forceful pranayama helps to overcome the respiratory tract diseases. Any kind of disease related to respiratory system, it will help to overcome. Okay, I think you are getting my point. Next, you will see this pranayama, like forceful pranayama, helps to overcome the excess fluid and prevents from the fungal growth. Fungal growth. It will help to overcome the excess fluid or it will evaporate the excess fluid. How? Say in the trachea, maybe in the bronchioles, here some secretion happen, fluid from the mucosa layer. From where? Mucosa layer of bronchi. There are some liquid secretions are there, fluid secretion. Why it secretes? Because whatever the air we are inhaling through the nose, that air will be dry. So to lubricate that air or to moisture the air, some fluid will be floating here. So whatever the dry air is coming, it will be lubricant and easily it can go to the lung muscles or it can go to the alveoli and these places. So this is the main aim. But if the secretion is very high, if the secretion is normal, it's okay. But the secretion is very high means, so dry air will come inside and how much fluids needed. So more than that fluiding means fluid and the excess is there means, so it will create some problems here. Which problem? Maybe fungal growth or any kind of foreign body or organism will be growing here in this particular place. So it will create some problem like bronchitis and all these problems are there, common cold. Okay. That's why we practice the Ujjayi Pranayama or any kind of heat generating pranayama. Ujjayi Pranayama is good for decrease the kapha. So Shleshmaharam dosham kanthe. Okay, the dosha, Shleshma dosha in the kantha, that will decrease. How? Because the fluid is flowing here excessively, but we are inhaling very forcefully. Vastrika also. So by that forceful inhalation and exhalation, the heat will be generated in this particular place. Heat. By this production of the heat, generation of the heat, the excess fluid what was falling from the mucosal layer in the bronchi, that will be evaporated. That's why I mentioned here, the excess fluid gets evaporated. Fluid is essential because it is giving the moisturizations or lubricant to the external layer, dry air. It's necessary. But if it is falling excessive, more than requirement, then what happen? The heat production of the pranayama, that will burn that and it will evaporate that excess secretion of the fluid. So if the fluid gets destroyed or evaporate, means there is no chance for fungal growth. So the lungs and the alveoli will be free from the any kind of disorders, any kind of problem. So this how it helps to overcome or evaporate the excess fluid and prevents from the fungal growth. Hope it is clear to you. Now let's understand the forceful pranayama, how does it works on metabolic disorders. Metabolic disorder means the disease which is arising by metabolism. Means whatever you are eating that is not digested, not absorbed and not utilized by the body cells. So that's why it's creating problem. So it's called as the metabolic issue. Like obesity, diabetes, all obesity and diabetes all comes under metabolic disorders. Okay, so what happened here? By the contraction and relaxation of forceful inhalation and exhalation, mean forceful pranayama, bastrika and all, what happened? The stomach muscles, the abdominal muscles will get contracted and relax more. By that what happened? The blood, whatever is stored in the adipose tissue. See, adipose tissue means the fatty tissue. Whatever the blood it gets stored here, unwanted blood, stored blood. So that blood will come out from that particular adipose tissue and it will go out of from your body. So as the unwanted blood goes from your body, the pure blood will come and they will give the purity to the particular muscles. And by that contraction, what happen? The elasticity will get increase of the muscles, the sensitivity, the nerve impulses sensitivity will get increase. So that whatever you are eating, the proper secretions of the gases, means juices secretions or the enzyme secretion will be there, and the secretion will help by the contraction of the muscles. And if the muscle getting contracted and relax, the sensation from the nerves impulse will be improved. So if the nerve impulses getting increased, the secretion of the juices and the hormones or whatever the enzymes will be there in the food more. So that food can digest and can be utilized by the body cells. So there is no question for the obesity. Are you getting my point? What I am talking? If a person practice Vastrika and all this pranayama, so you need to inhale and exhale forcefully. So the stomach muscles will be contracted and relax more. So whatever the stored blood is there in the adipose tissue, they will go out of body through the external respirations. Okay, so that will go out from your body. So CO2 will go means unwanted blood also will go. And second thing, by the contraction of the abdominal muscles, the muscle will become strengthful and elastic. So the impact to get the muscle will become very strengthful and elastic. The strength of the muscle will get improved. So that the impulses, whatever coming from the central nervous system or peripheral nervous system, they can sense. By that, they can send the signal to the glands and they can release the required hormones or what we call enzymes. And that will be work, that will mix in the food and food can be digested and utilized by the body cells. So that's how we can decrease our excess fat from our body. So we can tell bye-bye to our fat. Okay, that's how it works. Hope it's clear to you. Next, if you see the forceful pranayama helps in overcoming the varicose vein problem and improve the diastolic contractions. Varicose vein problem and diastolic contraction. Varicose vein means what happened in the veins. Varicose, this is called the varicose vein. The blood will become stagnant. So you can see the blood. They getting stored unwantedly here also. So the proper flow of blood will not take place here. Either blood will not go, CO2 blood cannot go, and O2 blood cannot come to the blood cell. So we can feel the pain because the rupture in the blood muscles or the blood capillaries. So by this contraction, inhalation and exhalation, same way with this forceful inhalation and exhalation, that the stored blood will come out from the body. Okay, are you getting my point? Out of body, same thing happen. And at the same time, the diastolic contraction will get improved. The hearts need to pump the to get the blood from different parts to the heart. So that if the blood is from upper side, automatically it will come. If the from heart is, see, heart is located here, heart is here, brain is here, and legs is here. Are you getting my point? From brain to heart, the return automatically it's possible to the right atrium. But from heart, it will difficult to come because it is against the gravitations. So heart has to do very forcefully. But if you practice pranayama like this, the contraction of the abdominal muscles, they will help to getting back the blood to the right atrium. So it will increase the diastolic contraction. So that diastolic contraction will become improved by practice of forceful contraction in the navel area, means inhalation and exhalation, forceful pranayama. Hope it is clear to you. The practice of pranayama helps to induce the nitric oxide nitric oxide in the body. Thus it helps in bronchodilation and vasodilation. Dilation means diluting or the making enlarged. Broncho means the bronchial will be enlarged, and the vaso means the vessels will become enlarged. For example, the person is inhaling continuously. It will the NO2 nitric oxide. It will dilute the blood vessels. And how it is coming? Nitric oxide, whatever we are inhaling, with our breath, oxygen will be there, CO2 will be there, nitrogen will be there, and they will be stored into the sinuses near to your nose, nasal sinuses. Their cavities are there, they will be stored. And whenever O2 passes from here, oxygen passes from the nose, and that nitrogen will get emerged and they will form nitric oxide. And that nitric oxide helps to dilute the broncho. Okay, and the blood vessels. See here the blood vessels was very small. The flow of blood is very less. And here it's become enlarged. Okay, so that heart pressure, the blood pressure, everything got decreased. And the asthmatic patient also can breathe very easily during the bronchodilations. So if the person is in asthma stage or hypertension stage, so they can go for the pranayama practice. This is how the pranayama helps in decreasing the BP as well as asthmatic problem or the heart problem. Okay, I think you're clear with this. What I'm talking here, whatever we have inhale, in that air, oxygen will be there, CO2 will be there, nitrogen will be there, and that nitrogen will be stored into the nasal cavity. Sinuses here, nasal cavity sinuses are there, they will be stored. When O2 will get into contact with that nitrogen, they will be converted as nitric oxide. So that nitric oxide helps to dilute the bronchi as well as blood vessels. So if the bronchi is getting diluted means or become enlarged means the obstruction will not be there to inhale and to exhale. So that the COPD problem, asthmatic problem can be overcome very easily. And the high BP persons who having the blood pressure problem, the pressure will get decreased because vessels will become enlarged. So this is the mechanism happen by practicing pranayama. And other way, if you see here, the pranayama helps to control the thoughts. During pranayama, we say one has to concentrate on his inhalation and exhalation, on his breathing. Like when you are inhaling, exhaling, if you are not concentrating on anything, so you cannot think at that time. So if you are practicing long time daily for a long time, then automatically you can enjoy the living in present. So whatever you are doing, you can do with happiness and with satisfactions. That's why yoga says, "Chale vate chalam chittam nischalam bhavet yogi stanuttam apnoti tato vayu nirodhayet." Chale vate chalam chittam nischalam bhavet yogi stanuttam apnoti tato vayu nirodhayet. So if you hold your breath, automatically your chitta thoughts process gets ceased, and that is the aim of yoga. Okay, means at the same time, so many thoughts won't come. You should be stick to a one thought. So while inhaling, you should stick into breathing only, not any other thoughts. So that's how pranayama helps in multiple dimensions. So in this video, we discuss some sort of benefits of pranayama in terms of cardiopulmonary variables. Hope you enjoy this. Look, watch, and learn this. Thank you. Bye bye. Have a good day.